Hello my friends, Amy Esther here with another video, and today we are talking about Hashimoto's disease. And I want to share with you how to treat Hashimoto's disease naturally. I think a lot of people believe that you have to turn to thyroid medication if you have Hashimoto's disease, and I want to share with you some other alternatives that you could try out. And I am not anti-medication. If it works for you, do it, but I want to share with you some other options and why I think that these are good options to try out before just turning to medications, or even maybe you're already on medications and you can try to use these to get off your medications. I just want to share with you some natural things you can do that are simple and easy. Well, maybe not the easiest, but they are simple and things that you can do and start implementing into your life to help you to treat your autoimmune disease. So if you guys have not been here before, I'm Amy Esther and I have several chronic illnesses, of course, including Hashimoto's disease. I also have POTS, SIBO, endometriosis, PCOS, fibromyalgia, lots of other things, just so many things going on. And I share my life here on YouTube about how I live life while living with these chronic illnesses. And I get a lot of questions about Hashimoto's disease because I have not been on thyroid medication and I've been able to control my Hashimoto's disease. And with some of the things I'm going to teach you today, I felt the best I ever had. And I personally don't think that I even need thyroid medication when I'm doing these things. So that's why I want to share these with you today. If you have Hashimoto's disease, make sure you're subscribed to my channel because I make content multiple times a week about how to do life while you're living with chronic illness. And I talk a lot about Hashimoto's disease. So you don't want to miss any of those videos. So make sure you are subscribed. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, what is Hashimoto's disease? Let's just talk real quick about what it is. Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid. So the thyroid is the gland in your neck, and it controls a lot of your hormones. And so it can cause a lot of different symptoms. In fact, I have an entire video about the symptoms of Hashimoto's disease. So I will link it down below so you can go watch that. But there are a lot of different symptoms that come along with Hashimoto's disease. And so it can be really hard to deal with because your hormones affect so many parts of your body. A lot of people treat their Hashimoto's disease with thyroid medication, like I said. So they will try to, for example, if they have low thyroid levels, they will take a medication to increase those thyroid levels. And the thing is, Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disorder. It's not a thyroid disorder. It's an autoimmune disorder, which means your body attacks itself. So the body is attacking the thyroid, and that's what's causing the low thyroid levels, and that is what's causing all of your symptoms. And so I heard this great analogy once, and I honestly don't remember where I heard it, but I won't take credit for it. Someone else said it, but it's a really good analogy about this. So what they said is Hashimoto's disease is like you coming into the doctor with all of these scratches on your leg. And your doctor says, okay, let's bandage them up. And he band-aids all the scratches on your legs that are bleeding and tries to cover up those bleeds and heal those bleeds that are happening. And then you come in a few months later and you have more scratches. And so you have to cover those ones up. And they just keep covering them up with bandages. And then maybe a few months later, you come back and it looks a little bit better. And so the doctor takes off some of those bandages. And then you come back a few months later and it's worse and there's more scratches. And so you put more band-aids on. And come to find out, the reason that you're getting all these scratches is because your dog keeps scratching you on your legs. And you keep just covering up with Band-Aids instead of getting rid of the dog or training the dog or staying away from the dog and stop getting scratches. You just keep letting him scratch you, and then you go to the doctor and get bandaged up, if that makes sense. So this is like Hashimoto's disease, because when you take a thyroid medication, it's like putting a Band-Aid on your thyroid instead of actually looking at the real problem, which is the dog that's scratching you or the autoimmune disease that's attacking you. So if you think of your autoimmune disease like the dog and your thyroid is like your legs, and your problems with your thyroid is the scratches on your legs, what's more helpful? Bandaging up all the scratches, or getting rid of the dog, or training the dog, or moving the dog, staying away from the dog that's scratching you? What in the long term is more helpful? Obviously, it is getting away from the problem, which is the dog that's scratching you. You're just covering them up with Band-Aids. That's not actually helping the real problem. So when you're just taking thyroid medication, you're just bandaging the damage that's being done by your autoimmune disease, but you're not treating your autoimmune disease, if that makes sense. So we need to look at the real problem, which is an autoimmune disease. So the things I want to teach you today are not to heal your thyroid, they are to heal your autoimmune disease and to control your autoimmune disease in order for the thyroid to heal, if that makes sense. So this has helped me so much, and that's why I want to share these things with you. And I hope that analogy helped you to kind of understand why, even if you want to go on thyroid medication, you should still try some natural things to do. For example, you still might want to bandage up your legs if you have scratches on them, but you still need to take care of the dog as well. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take care of the dog that's scratching your legs, or we're going to take care of the autoimmune disease that is hurting and harming your thyroid. So what we really want to do is decrease the inflammation. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the autoimmune protocol diet. And I'm telling you, this is a life changer. This to me is it's like the number one thing that you want to do is get on this diet. What it does is it gets rid of foods that cause inflammation. And so it is very restrictive. Basically, it's a paleo diet, meaning no grains, no dairy, no legumes. And then you can't have things like nuts and seeds. You can't have nightshades on this diet. So it is pretty restrictive. But when instead of focusing on what you can't have, you focus on what you can have, you can find a lot of really good things to eat. And I would suggest just giving it a try. I saw so much help with this diet. Within weeks of starting it, I saw decreased pain. I had so much more energy. I just felt so much better. And I actually ended up getting pregnant while I was on this. And I'd been told that I wouldn't get pregnant at all. I was have Hashimoto disease, and I have several other things that were causing me to have struggles getting pregnant. And I was told that without some serious medications and fertility treatments, I probably wouldn't be able to get pregnant and stay pregnant, because I'd also had some miscarriages. And I got pregnant within 2 months of getting on this diet. And I'm actually currently, as I'm filming this, still pregnant with this baby. And I felt amazing on that diet. And so I stayed on that for the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, because Hashimoto's disease, unfortunately, can cause some problems with pregnancy, like miscarriages and things, which are so awful. But I stayed on this diet during the beginning of my pregnancy, and after having 3 miscarriages, I was able to keep this baby. Now, of course, other things could have contributed. I'm not sure, but I really think this diet had such a huge benefit on my Hashimoto's disease. And when I got pregnant, I had my thyroid levels tested, and they were in normal range. And I really think it's because of this diet. It's not the easiest thing. It's pretty restrictive. Going out to eat is going to be extremely hard, because there's lots of spices and small things like that. Like, you can't even have pepper, which is kind of like a staple, at least here where I live in America. Salt and pepper is kind of the classic. And so I would just mostly do salt. And so it is very, very hard. But it is so worth it. And I would just suggest giving it a try. Do it for a month. Just dedicate a month and then see how you're feeling at the end. Because at least for me, it made a huge difference. And I know so many other people who did the AIP paleo diet, and it changed their lives, and it helped them control their autoimmune disease. So that is my number one tip for you guys today. The main thing I want you to take away from this video is try the autoimmune protocol diet. Give it a try. You can just Google it. and it will tell you all about it. If you guys are interested in more about it, if you want me to share more about it, let me know in the comments below. I would love to make more videos about it, maybe some recipes and those types of things. So if there's any videos you would like me to make about specifically the autoimmune protocol diet, let me know in the comments below. If not, lots of other people have gone before me and done that. There are full blogs that are just dedicated to the AAP paleo diet that I found. I'll try to link some of my favorites below, but I have found so much help from this. And again, you can just Google what you can eat, what you can't eat, and just give it a try, because it's seriously, oh my goodness, it's so life-changing. I actually do have a video when I started that diet. I will link in the description below of what I ate while I was on it. But it really has made such a huge difference on my autoimmune disease and has helped me control it so much. So I have tried some supplements. I try not to talk too much about supplements here on my channel just because there are so many out there, and I often feel like when you have an autoimmune disease and when you live with chronic illness, people try to sell you supplements that don't necessarily work. And so I've had a lot of supplements thrown at me, but I have tried some that I do think helped. However, I did take these right when I was starting the AIP paleo diet as well. And so it's kind of hard for me to say that these worked for sure because I was also on the AIP paleo diet. But with these two together is when I felt the best. And so again, I'm not trying to sell you supplements or tell you need to take supplements, but these ones did help me when I was on that AAP paleo diet. That's when I felt the best, taking these and on the paleo diet. But again, do your own research, find your own supplements that work for you. One kind of general one that might help you is a probiotic. And the reason that that might help is because when you have Hashimoto's disease or an autoimmune disease, it's highly linked to your gut health. And there's been a lot of research on this. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. So I just know what I've read and what I feel as someone who lives with Hashimoto's disease. But there is definitely a link between your gut health and your autoimmune disease. A big chunk of your immune system is in your gut. And a lot of people talk about leaky gut syndrome when it comes to autoimmune disease, things kind of like leaking out of the gut and causing problems. And so trying to heal your gut can really help. And probiotics can help that. I've tried tons. I wouldn't say I have a specific one I recommend right now, but I will, if I ever have one, I will let you know. I've tried a lot of different ones, and I've seen some benefits from some that didn't really work for me. But probiotics can be a way to help heal your gut. As well as any other gut healing things. The autoimmune protocol diet will help heal your gut as well. And there's, of course, a bunch of supplements and things that people claim heal your gut. But for me, diet seems to be the best. Probiotics and eating on an AIP paleo diet seems to help my gut health the most. So focusing on healing your gut can help heal your autoimmune disease. Another thing that can cause inflammation is stress. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I definitely noticed this. The more stressed I am, the more mental anxiety and whatever is going on here in my brain makes my pain and my symptoms worse. So anytime you have more stress, you're going to have more inflammation in your body, and it's going to make you feel worse. So find things to relieve that stress. You could take daily walks. You could go to a counselor or do some therapy. You could work with a life coach. You could do some yoga, do some meditation or mindfulness. You could write in your journal before bed. Just finding things to relax your mind can help relax your body as well. Going along with that would be sleep. I talk about these two things a lot. In almost every treatment video I talk about treating any chronic illness. Sleep and stress are just huge for everything. So try your best to get better sleep. A lot of us with Hashimoto's disease do suffer from insomnia, but you can get yourself to a more relaxed state at night. You can go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, try to avoid napping. Try to avoid a heavy meal before bed, avoid screens before bed. Those kinds of things can help you to get better sleep. And especially going back to stress, if you can try to reduce some of your stress and anxiety, that has a big impact on your sleep. If you're stressed and your mind is going a million miles an hour, I know for me, when I get anxiety in the middle of the night, I just can't sleep because my brain just won't turn off. So finding ways to cope with that anxiety and that stress that you're having to help you get better sleep would be huge. You also need daily exercise. However, I recommend not doing too intense. With Hashimoto's disease, we can be kind of sensitive to exercising. And sometimes if we exercise too much or too intensely, if you're like going on mile runs every single day, that can be really hard on your body. I personally have found that lifting weights works best for my body with all the chronic illnesses I have. I've just found for me lifting weights, it's not so intense like going to a high fit class or going on a run where I'm just so exhausted after and I feel terrible after. But it gets my blood pumping. It helps me to feel a lot better without having to be too intense. So I really like lifting weights and doing kind of like the machines at the gym. So I avoid the cardio because of some other chronic illnesses I have. However, for Hashimoto's disease, the elliptical or the rowing machine, the bike, those can be, as long as you don't go too intense, those can be helpful for you as well. I personally, because I have POTS, I also can't really do any cardio, so I stick with weights, and then I love doing the machines that they have at the gym because it gets me a variety. It's more enjoyable to me, but it's just not so intense where I feel like I'm just exhausted after. So get yourself an exercise routine that's not insane. Maybe it's just going for a walk every day. Maybe it's just picking up a few light weights. Maybe it's just doing a home workout on YouTube. Just try not to make it too much, but you do need to do something, because if you just sit and do nothing every day, it's gonna make your inflammation and your chronic pain much worse. Speaking of routines, get yourself into routines with your day-to-day. So for me, I've noticed certain times in the day where I feel worse. I don't do very well in the mornings, and then I usually have a little bit of a slump around like 3 p.m., like 3 to 5 usually. I kind of feel a little bit worse, and so I've just noticed, okay, first thing in the morning around like 3 to 5 p.m., those times of the day I need to rest. And so I have set up a system for myself where I typically don't plan things during those times where I know I'm not going to feel very good. I have a routine of when I know I'll feel a little bit better. Usually around like 10, 11 a.m., I start to feel a little bit better. So that's usually like when I clean and when I try to get errands done and I do more active stuff. And then in the evening is usually when I exercise, like at 7 p.m., when I kind of have that burst of energy come back. So I think that, everyone's different. So you may be great in the mornings and feel awful in the afternoon. Just find a routine and start to notice, when do you feel better? When do you feel worse? Because usually there's kind of those same dips in the same day. Of course, when you're having a flare, it could be all day, it could be weeks where you feel terrible, but just kind of day to day, try to find a routine that works for you and your body. And on flare days, make sure you rest as much as possible. Just baby yourself. Stop trying to do too much because it's going to make your flare last longer. So anytime you're flaring, honestly, for me, I just kind of tell myself, you know what, this is a flare day. I am going to baby myself today. I am not going to do too much. I am going to rest. I'm going to focus on me and stop trying to have a clean house and stop trying to do things for other people or things that I just physically cannot do or will make me worse. I take a step back and I say, no, today is a day for me to rest and recover. So make sure when you are having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month that you just focus on your health. You need to cut out the other things in your life during that time that are causing you extra stress. So maybe you get a nanny during that time if you have kids. Maybe you ask your husband for extra help. Or maybe You get a lot of massages during that time, and you take a lot of long baths for yourself. You read a lot of books. Find some things that you can do during those flare days to give yourself some rest. And my last little tip for you is to get yourself a support animal. I have a dog and a cat, and they are just the best. When I'm having a bad day, they come up and snuggle me, and they show me the love that I need when I can just lay around and be like lazy. I'm not really being lazy, I'm being sick. But if I have a sick day, it's nice to have a support animal there to comfort me. So that would be my last tip for you, is to get yourself a support animal if you're an animal person. I personally wasn't until the past year, when my daughter and my husband just convinced me to get animals, and I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And now I love it, and it's so nice to have them as companions. So I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any other ideas of natural things we can do to help treat our Hashimoto's disease, please leave those in the comments below. I'd love to hear all of your ideas, and I'd love to try them. If you want more from me, make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.